Hello, my name is Bella and welcome to the 100 Acre Wool podcast, where I talk about all the things I've been making recently, usually having to do with knitting, sewing, or other fiber arts. This week I have a lot of knitting to show you, and also at the end of the episode I'm going to show you what I'm planning on making for next year, my Make 9. So let's get started. You can also find me on Instagram or Ravelry at 100 Acre Wool. And I think I'm pretty good on both of those places about posting updates to my current projects, so you can see more updates on those places. Before we get started, as usual, timestamps will be in the description below, and also links to everything that I talk about today will also be in the description below, so check those out. I hope you have been having a wonderful holiday time recently. I know some people aren't able to spend time with their families this year due to everything that's been going on this year, but I hope you're having a peaceful, relaxing, enjoyable time anyways. This year I wasn't able to be with my mom, and we always have a tradition every year. We celebrate Christmas, and we always have a tradition every year of making these they're kind of like Rice Krispie treats. They're made out of marshmallows and cornflakes, and we make them look like little holly leaves and berries. And my mom's name is Holly, so we call them Holly treats. And that's always a really fun tradition that we do every year. And so this year I wasn't able to do that with her, but I made them on my own where I am now, and it made me think of her, and it just brought some joy to my day. So I hope you guys are still having a lovely time this time of year. If you have any family traditions, I would love to hear what those are. I'm always curious to know what other people like to do during the holidays, so let me know what you guys are doing around this time. Okay, now let's get into the knitting. So, the first thing to show you this week is a project that I talked about last week. I am working on a test knit for LifeisCozy. Ksenia of LifeisCozy, she's the designer. She's putting out a new pattern soon on January 5th. They're called the Undulation Mittens, and I'm so happy to be a test knitter for that project. So that's what I've been working on recently, are my mittens for that. So I'll show you how they're coming along right now. This is what they're looking like. I'll put a detailed picture here so you can really see the details. But I think these are such beautiful mittens. Ksenia got inspired. The inspiration behind these is kind of a droplet in water, you know, the ripple effect that happens when either a droplet of water or something falls in water. She loved the rippling waves that creates, so that was the idea behind these, and you'll see in the photo what I'm talking about. There's kind of a center point, and then waves of cables are kind of rippling out from that, and I think it's just such an elegant design. So when I saw it on Instagram and she was calling for test knitters, I was like, oh my gosh, I have to make those, have to knit those. They're so beautiful. So I've been getting into cables recently a lot. This is one of my first cable work projects, cable knit projects, and I just think they're super cool. These are really unique cables, I think. There's a lot of different I guess you could call it cable twists or cable turns in this one. You wouldn't look at it and think, oh, that's cables right away. At least I didn't at first. I was like, oh my gosh, how do you do that? Like, it just seemed like such a cool, intricate design to me. So I'll put them on and show you what they're looking like on right now. They look really tiny on the needles, I know. They have a lot of negative ease in them so that they're kind of tight on your hands, and they're really cozy and warm. So this is what they're looking like on me right now. I just love how they fit. They fit so perfectly. They're not too tight, but they're definitely tight enough that they're going to be really, really warm. And this is the long version of the pattern. So she has two different lengths to the design, and then there's also 3 different sizes. So I'm making the long version in the size small, and I just think it's coming out perfectly so far. I really, really love it. As I said, I am a test knitter for this, and so far the pattern has been wonderful. We have a little group chat on Ravelry that we've been talking with the other test knitters, and it's been really, really cool to see what other people are making as well. And yeah, I think this is such a cool pattern. So it's coming out January 5th, if you like this. So the yarn that I'm using for this is not the original yarn that the pattern was designed with. This, I talked about it last week. This is Expression Fiber Arts. It is the Luster Sport base name. That's the base name. And then the colorway is Allegory. It's kind of a grayish purple. And it's got Tencel in it, which gives it a lovely sheen. Lovely kind of, you know how silk has that kind of sparkle? I mean, not sparkle, but, you know, it's shiny. So it has that without having silk in it. And I chose this yarn instead of the original. One, because I couldn't even find the original. I couldn't even find it in stock anywhere. The hand dyer who normally does it. But also, I wanted more of a purpley color, and the only ones I could find were, was kind of a bluish color. But anyways, this is a very similar yarn weight to what the original was, so I thought it would work, you know, just as well, which I think it is right now. I think it's coming out perfectly well. So I really love how these are working up. I'm going to be finishing these this coming week, hopefully, and then I'll update you guys on what the finished projects look like. I'm also going to be posting updates on Instagram, so if you want to see updates before the next episode, then you can go follow me on Instagram and see them there. Like I said earlier, these are cables, so that's how the kind of V-shape patterning is happening, as you do cable twists. And I have cable needles, you know, when you move the stitches onto a separate needle. I haven't figured out yet how to do it without a cable needle, because I've heard that that's, you know, a possibility that you can do it. You can do cables without a cable needle. That sounds way crazy to me, like magic, but anyways, so I still use a needle. But this is such like a small pattern, and you know, I'm using, what are these needles? 1.5 US. These are 1.5 millimeter, sorry, no, 2.5 millimeter size 1.5 US needles. So they're really, really small, so the stitches are pretty small, and none of my cable needles were thin enough to, you know, easily slip them on and off. So I've actually been using one of my DPNs to kind of hold the cable stitches, which is working perfectly well, and I actually like it better because it's Jiagu, the same needles that I'm using to actually knit this, and I really love how slippery the stainless steel is. I definitely prefer it over the plastic cable needles that I have. I know they're plastic, like, you don't want the stitches to fall off, but in this case I like that they're slippery. So yeah, that's actually working out well, is using a DPN. Let me show you the back of these as well. The back is just simple ribbing. I think it's a 2x1 rib, something like that. So it creates a lot of, you know, these have negative ease, so it creates a lot of stretchiness in the back, and it's just really simple and comfortable to wear. So I think that's all I have to say about these for this week. Make sure to check out next week's episode when I post it, and I will show you what these look like as they're finished. Alrighty, next up is a almost finished object. I've been working on this non-stop this week. It was a lot more knitting than I thought it would be. I talked about this last week also. This is the second puppy sweater. Here we go, let me show you. This is the second puppy sweater that I have made this year as a Christmas gift. I made two, so now it's 2 puppy sweaters for 2 different puppies that I'm giving away as Christmas gifts. I already gave away the first one because that was completely finished, but this one, because of the design, I needed to try it on the puppy before actually finishing it up, so I'll talk about that in a minute. But this design is, I think it's the Dandy Dog pattern, Dandy Dog sweater. I'm not sure. I'll put an image here of what the pattern is. But the pattern is really cool. It's 3 different designs actually. When you purchase the pattern, you actually get 3 different designs. And the one that I made here is the mock cable design. I think it's super cool. It's mock cable, so it looks like a cable, probably from far away. It probably looks like a cable right now, but it's not. So you actually use, I don't want to give away the pattern, but you use a slip stitch. You slip a stitch to make the other knit stitches around it kind of pull together. So it, and then when you do the purls on the other sides, it makes it look like it's a cable, but it's not. So yeah, that was really, really cool to make. So the other patterns in the pattern, I think there's a beaded one, which I didn't really look into that one, but that sounds really cool. And then I think there's another one with lace. So if you purchase this pattern, you kind of get like 3 for the price of 1. So that was pretty cool. The only thing I'll say about the pattern is that it was a little hard to follow, but also I think I wasn't paying attention to what the pattern was saying enough. When I first was starting on this project, like right after I filmed last week's episode, I like cast this on right away and started working on it, and I was just trying to get it done really quickly and I didn't, I just went on autopilot and I cast on it starts at the bottom, so I cast on the bottom of the sweater in the round, and I didn't realize that it was supposed to be worked flat. And if you're a knitter, you know that once you start something in the round, you can't make it go flat again unless you want to steek, which I definitely wasn't going to do for this. So that was a big mess up for me, and I didn't even realize it. I didn't even realize that like I was doing the wrong thing until I was like, I think I had made like 6 inches of headway of progress. So I was like getting into the main pattern after the ribbing, and I was like, I don't think I'm supposed to do, in the round for the whole thing. Like, this doesn't seem right. So I finally figured out it's supposed to be worked flat. So, ripped it all back, started over. That's how it goes sometimes. But it was okay. It wasn't that big of a deal. But I think that's maybe why it took longer than I was expecting, because I had to start over again. But anyways, so how this is generally constructed. So this piece is kind of the back part. This is where it goes on, the back of the dog, and it's worked flat until you get up to, for most of the body, until you get up to the collar. So this is like a little turtleneck here. I folded it over, so it has a little fold here. So until you get to this part. So for this part, you join in the round to work the ribbing of the turtleneck. You also make another piece, which is what I still need to seam on. So there's a seam here that's going to need to happen. So then this is kind of the belly section, and you start from the bottom again, and then you just knit up, and then you do some decreasing at the top to make it kind of a triangle top, and then afterwards you seam it on to the body part, and then it becomes like a whole sweater. So that's the last step that I have to do, is the seaming part. That's why I have all these clips here. I usually use these for sewing, but they're useful for knitting too. So that's just keeping it in place for me right now. And then you'll see I also have, there's no clips here because these are going to be the armholes. So here and also here. That's where the pattern wasn't super clear in my opinion. The good thing about it is that the pattern is super adjustable to how large the dog is. So for this one, for example, the puppy I was making this for was, let's say, wider than she is tall or long, I guess. So like the pattern had some set sizes, but then within that you could kind of adjust it. So I made it wider but not as long as the pattern was saying. So yeah, it was just kind of not super specific on where the armholes should be, so that's why I just wanted to make sure and try it on the puppy before I actually seamed in this belly section. But I really love how it came out. I mean, I'll put a picture here on what it looks like on the puppy, and I just think it's so beautiful, so cute. The person that I'm giving this to, they really, really like the colors. So yeah, I just really like how it came out. It was a really simple design. I mean, you can see it's really simple. It's just with how much yarn I used, it seemed to take a while. I don't know why. It seemed to be a lot of knitting. Maybe because the other puppy sweater I made was so much smaller. But anywho, let me talk about the yarn real quick if you haven't seen my other episodes. This yarn is Rico Essentials Aran Weight yarn, and I used almost a ball of, so it's 50 grams, I used almost a ball for this teal color, and then I used two balls for this main color here. So I have a little bit extra because I bought 3 balls. So I'm glad that I had enough. I was kind of scared that I wasn't going to. So that worked out well. So yes, all I need to do now is to seam up the belly section to the back, and then this project will be all finished. And I'm really excited to officially give it to its owner. I think they're really gonna love it and get a lot of use out of it. So I think that's all I'll say about this one. And now I'm going to get into my plans, my knitting plans for next year. So this is my Make 9 plan for 2021. I'll put a picture here of what I'm thinking I want to make for next year. Although these are only garments. You'll see all of them are garments. This is only what I'm planning for garments. So that means I'm going to want to make hats, shawls, scarves, socks, all the other things, mittens as well on top of this, because I like having a larger project and some smaller projects going at the same time, just in case I get bored with one thing, I can hop to something else, So let me get into each one of these, what they are, and what my plans are for each one. So if you see me looking down, it's just that I'm reading the names of all the patterns. So I'm going to be telling you what these patterns are, starting from the left to the right and top down. I'm planning on making these in the order that I talked to you about them. So for instance, the yell, which is in the top left corner, I want to make that first this year, and then, the one next to it, and so on and so forth. So yes, the first one is the Yell Cardigan by Marie Wallin. This one I have been planning and had on my queue to make for so long. I mean, I just got back into knitting a little over a year ago, and basically since then I've wanted to make this garment. So I already have all of the yarn picked out, and I actually have it now for this garment. So I'll show you what that looks like right now. This is almost all of the yarn that I have picked out for this garment. I was so lovingly gifted all of this from my grandma this year for Christmas, so I'm so excited I'm going to be able to make this pattern. I was kind of not pulling the trigger for a very long time. Like, I had these colors picked out, but I hadn't pulled the trigger because it was just so much to spend on one piece, and I wanted to make sure I got it exactly right how I wanted it. So thank you, Grandma, for the gift of knitting. So I'll get into what these colors are. This is all Jameson and Smith, and also Jameson's of Shetland yarn. So both of them are Shetland 2-ply yarn. Shetland 2-ply, 100% Shetland wool. It's too much Shetland. Anyways, so you'll see that the colors are not the same as what the original was made out of. I think Marie used Jameson's of Shetland wool, but these aren't the same colors, and neither is the actual main body part, or main body colorway. So these three, and then also these three, are going to be the main colorwork of the body, the kind of two-tone gray colors. And I also have three more balls of each of them, because that's what the pattern calls for that you need. And then as far as the colorwork goes on the edge, on all the edgings, I kind of got carried away with colors. I picked out a lot here, you'll see. The pattern doesn't call for this many different colors, but Marie does repeat a couple colors throughout the colorway, through the colorwork. You know what I'm saying. Throughout the Fair Isle colorwork, she reuses a couple of them, and I wanted it to be a little bit different. I wanted to use, the similar shades throughout, but different colors, because I just got completely obsessed with how woolen spun yarn looks. I think it's just so totally gorgeous. I'll put a closer up picture here. You probably can't see all the details of the yarn from this far away, so I'll put a closer up picture so that you can see what they actually look like, because there's like no other yarn that looks like that. I mean, okay, I'm used to, solid dyes, so like big batch dyes or hand-dyed yarn, and the color, the pigmentation and the color is different. So in a lot of woolen spun yarns, the fibers are dyed before the yarn is spun into actual, like strands of yarn. So it gives this really, kind of muddled, many colors, but they're very even. They're very evenly mixed throughout. So you're not going to have, like splotches of red like you would in hand-dyed yarn. I love all yarn. I mean, there's different uses for each type, you know, different applications. But I just got completely obsessed with this kind because it's just so cool. You can't get this kind of a look without having a mill, you know? Like you have to dye it when it's in the wool and then mix it all together and then spin it. And I just think that process is so cool. So yes, got obsessed with those. And then I also found out that Jamieson's of Shetland wool has, what is it, 300 something colors, like an insane amount of different colors that you can use. So I kind of just went crazy on their website and was just comparing color after color and like, oh, this shade is slightly more blue, and like comparing all of them together and like what that would look like. So I just had a lot of fun. So anyways, I'm going to be using a little bit of every single one of these colors throughout the color work of the Yell. And I've been doing also a lot of planning of how I want the color work to be, how I want the colors to show up throughout the design. Yeah, this is going to be such a big project for me because I've already spent so much time on it. Like I've literally spent hours just picking out the colors. Am I crazy? Maybe. But whatever. So yeah, let me get into the next thing. All right, the next garment I want to make on my list is called RANUNCULUS by Midori Hirose. I think that's how you say her name. This pattern has also been on my queue to make for a very long time, pretty much since the beginning again. I saw so many people wearing this and talking about this on different knitting podcasts when I was first getting back into knitting, and I just think it's such a feminine, you know, simple, elegant sweater, and you can also make it in so many different, depending on the yarn that you use, you can make it into so many different styles. So I just think it's super beautiful. I don't know exactly what yarn I want to use for this yet. Probably monotone or pretty monotone, and maybe some mohair in there. I think it would be really fun to have it a little bit fuzzy. And I love lace, so yeah, I think this will be a really beautiful make. The next one is KOIVUA. That's probably not how you say it, but I'm not sure how to say it. It's by Caitlin Hunter, that's the designer. I saw a lot of different projects already made in this pattern, and I think it's so cool. The color work is just so gorgeous, how it's kind of leaves. And I also saw a lot of projects made using spin cycle yarns and kind of using a solid color in the background, and then for the color work using spin cycle. And it's just so magical seeing the color gradient go, like, you know, all the way down the garment. I just think that's super cool. So I might be using spin cycle for that, but I also might be using a yarn, I haven't decided yet. I also might use a yarn that I already have, that I've actually had in my stash for like years and years. Like, I think I've had it in my stash since before I started knitting, or maybe when I first learned to knit. It's really old. Let me show you what it looks like right now really quick. I might want to use this or maybe spin cycle, because so this is a silk. It's completely silk, so it says recycled silk. So I don't even remember where I got this, but anyways, I think it's a lot of like silk threads that have been all spun together. So I'll put a closer up photo here so you can see all of the details of this yarn. But it's super cool. It's really textured and varied, and it's not even the same like yarn weight all throughout. There's some thick parts and some thin parts. So I'm thinking it might give a cool texture, cool uniqueness to the sweater if I choose to make it with this as kind of the color work part, and then I would use a different yarn as the background, you know, base color. Let me know if you have any suggestions. What do you think a cool background color would be? I'm thinking maybe like a golden mustardy yellow, maybe like a gold color, or more orangey or brown, somewhere in there. Because I don't want it to be exactly the main colors of this, but something that would go well with this, obviously. So let me know if you have any suggestions that you think would look cool. The next pattern is another Marie Wallin design. This is called SOAY. Man, I'm probably butchering all of these names. Anyways, I think this is such a beautiful design, and as you can see, I am obsessed with color work and cables. So this is not a surprise that I think this is such a beautiful design. I really love the light blue color that she used. I think I might want to do just the exact same thing, use the same yarn, the same color for this pattern. So I'm really excited to be making that. The next pattern is a classic, Hinterland by Jennifer Steingass. This one is such a cute design, I think. I'm thinking I might want to make this with Lopi, Let Lopi yarn, because I think the trees, kind of the color work in the trees, would lend itself to being a more wintry garment if I were to wear it. I mean, okay, I live in California, so it never gets really cold, but I get really cold. This is a sweater, and I'm wearing this on a sunny day, so you can see I am always cold. But anyways, I think I could actually maybe wear Let Lopi in this. I have heard that Let Lopi is a bit scratchier than other yarns, but it's really warm. Like, it's probably the warmest that you can get. That's what I've heard. So it would be a good, more of an outerwear garment, just to be, warm, more of a functional thing. But I want to make it cute, so doing the color work in that I think would be really cool. So that's probably going to be made out of Let Lopi. I'm not sure about the colors yet. I'll still need to plan that. Next is GYDA by Linda Marveng. I think this is so beautiful. Again, cables again. I think this is such a unique design because of the waist shaping that there is. I think it's super feminine and really elegant. I haven't seen many designs like this before at all. So I really want to make this one. This one I might actually make earlier, sooner in the year. Like I said, I think I'm going to make these all in order, but that might change. You never know. So anyways, yeah, I think I'm going to use a different color yarn for this. The teal isn't exactly my style, but the cables I'm just in love with. And I'll try to find a picture of the back as well, the back of this garment, because the back is like completely cables. And it's just so intricate and complicated looking, but I think it'll be a fun make. And next is Jane Seymour by Alice Starmore. If you've seen episode 3, I think I talk about how much I love Alice Starmore and her designs. This is one of the designs that I definitely want to make very soon. This design is from her Tudor Roses book. I am not sure what colors I'm going to want to do. I might want to do these red ones that she uses in the original design. I'm definitely going to want to use her yarn for it. I think it will lend itself so perfectly, and I want to make sure that the gauge that I get is, as spot on as possible. So I think using her yarns will be the best for that. But yeah, for the colors, I'm not sure yet. I might want to change it up a little bit. So I'm really excited about that one. Number 8 is ROAN by Martin Storey. Another color work, of course, but I think it's a really cool pattern. There's little birdies on it, and there's a lot of variation in the colors. I think I might want to use these exact colors because I think they just go so well together. I wouldn't probably normally gravitate to each of the colors by themselves on their own, but I think how he blended them all together is really beautiful. So this would be a good one, I think, for going about your day, maybe going outside. I do some gardening, so I think this would be good for gardening. You can see in the photo she looks like she's in the farm and doing some work, so I think that would be a good garment to wear for that occasion and kind of, look good while getting stuff done. So I really want to make this one. I'm really excited about that pattern. I haven't actually found where to buy the pattern yet. From what I can tell from online, I think it was published in a magazine or a book, but I haven't been able to find it on Ravelry or on Martin Storey's website, or I think he uses ROAN yarns for this. Haven't been able to find it there either. So I'm gonna have to try to find this pattern, but if I can find it, then I definitely want to make it. All right, and last but not least is another Alice Starmore pattern. This one is called Anne Boleyn, and this one I actually saw first from, I think, Fruity Knitting. If you don't know Fruity Knitting, go check out their podcast. They have just a wealth of information on there, and you can learn so many new knitting techniques, and they interview people from all around the world doing knitting and different fiber arts related things, so go check them out if you don't know who they are. But anyways, the hostess of that podcast, Andrea, made this pattern, and it just looked so beautiful on her, and I just looked it up and found out, oh, this is also an Alice Starmore pattern, so I really want to make this one. I love how tailored it is. I think for being color work and also tailored, that's a it's a pretty rare combo, I think. It's technically difficult to create waist shaping and decreases and increases while doing color work. So I think that that's really cool that Alice Starmore was able to blend both of those seamlessly and beautifully in this pattern. And I think also I'll put a picture here of the details of the cuffs. It's so, so beautiful, and especially in her yarn as well, the Alice Starmore Hebridean yarn. I'm definitely going to want to use that for this one as well. It's just so lovely, you know, the little tweety bits of the wool, of the woolen spun yarn. So I think I'm going to want to make this pattern in the colorway, the original colorways, because I think it just works. It just works, and it's my style. So that is my last plan for the Make 9 of 2021. Like I said, I'm going to want to do other things, you know, make socks and hats and little things like that throughout the year. But these are going to be my big projects. So if you want to see how these are coming out throughout the year, make sure to subscribe so that you can see all my podcasts and updates of how these projects are coming along. So thank you so much for watching if you've gotten to the end of this episode. Like I said, make sure to subscribe and like this video if you like this content or you want to see more content like this from me and updates on my projects in the future. So thank you again, and I'll see you next week. Bye bye.